we're not going to do low level, somebody just happened to have a joint and I'm going to put them in jail forever. She said, no. She said, but I'm going to get cops who are dirty, and I'm going to get cops who are beating up on black folks. I'm going to hold them accountable also. And it drove DeSantis so crazy that he fired her. Okay, people? Just in case you think this is always about some black person doing something, quote, criminal. She was doing her job. No allegation whatsoever of any improper conduct.
And you're right, Barbara. I mean, you're right on the point. And Carl, before she said Monica Rivera, I thought she was going to say Marilyn Mosby. Isn't Marilyn Mosby in Baltimore City? Isn't that what the whole Freddie Gray? She went after the police, and now she's what? She's now the defendant. How's it different?
Right. Daryl, let me say this.
Voters take from it.
Daryl, let me just say this. We are very, very, very fortunate to have Barbara and Dianne and Jayda. They make me so proud. These are women. They get it. Those voices get it. And I know it's not by accident or coincidence or happenstance what happened in Georgia. Black women voted in record numbers and made a difference, and they're making a difference all over the country.
Amen.
The women that you're talking about are just incredible, but they're reflective of who we got on the program. These voices, people are listening to this program and hearing them. Diane's analysis of she just hit it out the ballpark when she talked about the whole age and reminding.
Carl? Okay. You faded off on us, Carl.
Well, Daryl.
I was just saying that Dianne reminded us that if there was a black woman waiting, if Biden should not be able to complete his term. What an analysis. What is a way of reminding people that it's not about voting for a person, but voting for a direction. What's at stake is not between two people. Yeah. What's at stake is the democracy. And what I want to just make this one point, I am just so proud of these black women. They are the Harriet Tubmans of the day. They are the ones they're the Sojourner Truth. They're the ones that make us pause and just say for a moment, my God, I'm so glad they're on our side. I tell you that.
And that's why they hate us so much. That's why they hate us so much, because we are very, strong. We're going to vote. We're going to stand in line 4, 5, 6 hours along with our men. We're going to vote. And they hate us because they know our spirit. They know where we get this spirit from. And they know that we're not to be dominated, not to be lied upon. And I was just thinking, Daryl, about Barbara Lee. She's on the darn committee, and they threw her out. Told her to get out of the room when they were deliberating on something because they didn't like her stance. I mean, this happened in Congress, people. They told Maxine Waters just a month ago also, the hush, that they didn't want to hear her talk. I mean, this is what's happening because black women, we believe if we have to strap this darn democracy on our back and carry it like we do a baby across the finish line so that it's a multiracial and just democracy, we will.
And Adarian, are you still with us?
Yes, sir.
Adarian, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. So, Adarian, you issued this call to black men to back up these black women that are being attacked across the nation, really, whether you're talking about Judge Tunkin, District Attorney Letitia James or Fani Willis, right, Letitia James or Fani Willis. And, let's not forget what they did to poor Kim Fox in Chicago, but we'll leave that out for a second. But, Darren, why is it, that you're issuing this call for black men to stand with the black women? Wouldn't they just do that normally? Isn't that naturally what would happen?
Well, you would think that it was normal, and I could talk all day about the division that has been placed amongst from outside races, the division that has been put between the black man and the black woman, because the unity of black men and the unity of black women is what causes us to grow. It causes us to prosper. It causes us to be successful. And so they know the anatomy of black culture is if I can separate the black woman from the black man, we can cause division throughout the entire black race. And so that's why I've seen this ever-rising trend of division from black men to black women. And it doesn't have anything to do with a relationship. It's just the fact that this is my sister. She looks like me, and especially as a black man, we can say that the suppression that they face is 10 times worse than what we face because they consider women to be less than. They consider women to not be capable to do what they say men can do. But if I can just say, the most resilient figures in our history have been black women. Black women held down the church when the men wouldn't go to church. Black women brought men to church. It was a black woman that carried black men and women out of slavery across from the south to the north. We have to note the resilience of the black woman, and I have to even say, for my grandmother and my mother and my aunt and all of those powerful black women in my family, I can say that it's their resilience that gives me my resilience, right? And you cannot discount that as we are in this social justice fight and in this race that we run, the resilience of a black woman. And so yes, we have to stand behind our black sisters and support them, and don't take anything for them. They take so much. We ought to support them if nothing else.
Daryl?
And yes, Barbara.
That's Dianne.
Is that Barbara or Dianne? Is that Dianne?
I wanted to add to what Adarian just said, and again, I'm hoping that we're imparting some news or a thought or a phrase that people will be helpful, because I sure got one from Adarian today. The vote for nobody's a vote for somebody. But this is the other thing I want you to think about. That part of, this is the team, because we're part of the team. The very reason why black women have been allowed to walk in the doors instead of brothers is because there's an expectation by the white establishment that we will behave differently, that we will be more accommodating. And why would they think that? Because no matter what they do, white women have done it. They still, in a majority, voted for a guy who is now convicted of rapist, right? Majority. Right. They did it in 20. They did it in 20. Again, so 16. They did it in 20. And so we get there and we shock them. So they got to come at us with a vengeance like, wait, you're supposed to do what we told you to do, because that's what women. So it's as much about this intersection between the sexism as it is about racism. The other thing, too, is think about this, and please remember this. This whole voter enthusiasm thing is grossly overrated. Every election season, I end up having to post it to remind it. When you look on TV and you see the pundits start talking about black people are not enthusiastic about Joe Biden, black people are not enthusiastic. Guess what? That's not how we roll. I wasn't enthusiastic in 20. That's not how we roll. We do winks and nods. We grab and squeeze hands. We still use the same communication in 2024 that was done in 1620. You know what I mean? Like that's how we talk. We don't tell people our business. We ain't screaming and hooting and hollering. We go in that booth and we do what we need to do. But we vote on resolve. We know what to do, which is why we keep confounding the pollsters. They can't believe it. Black women going to keep pulling it out the fire because that's what we do. We don't have to have a celebration or a parade to do it. We are going to vote our interest.
Amen.
And just remember that. It ain't about enthusiasm.
And Dianne, but also, they either lie on us or they just avoid, dealing with facts. Folks, have you heard that in the South Carolina Democratic primary that the African American turnout increased by 13% over what it was in 2020? Did you hear that anywhere? They don't want to.
No, and we won't hear about it.
Of course not. And what I want black people to do, I want everybody, I don't care what race you are, go read one case. If you've never read a case in your life, look up North Carolina versus Mann, M-A-N-N, North Carolina. versus men. If you look up that case, it's an 1830 case, I believe. And it's about the way a black woman is maimed, brutalized, just terribly just crippled for life. She's disabled by this vicious white master who she gets loaned out to by another person. And the Supreme Court of North Carolina says, well, that's how it is. What else do you expect? You're a black person who has been enslaved, and you better, and the white master must have domination over you and do everything he can to keep you under check. And she did nothing wrong. But this is why we got to understand that all of this stuff, there's a whole culture behind it, right, Daryl? So I'm going to stop.
Right. Okay, thank you, Barbara. This discussion, folks, we're talking about the power of the Gen Z vote. And why are we talking about the power and resiliency of the Gen Z vote, that they're still going to vote regardless of what they're throwing at? Because the Gen Zs are the most multicultural, the most diverse, the most accepting, multi-religious, accepting block of voters in American history. And that scares people. But you know what? The Gen Z voters know how to vote and how to contact one another and to get their vote on. That's why we're talking about this show, because they're controlling the narrative. We're going to have the Gen Zs control their own narrative. They know what they were about. Jayda Jeffery, people are listening to you and they're wondering, how can I get a hold of that sister? How do they reach you, Jayda?
So if you guys ever want to talk to me, my Instagram handles are JaydaNoir, Jayda Noir.
All right. And Adarian, the same to you. Folks are wondering how to get a hold of you. How do they get a hold of you, Adarian?
All right. Well, usually I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is ADTheCoolest, ADTheCoolest, just as I pronounced it. And Instagram is ADFambro7. I'm not Instagram. Twitter is ADFambro7.
Thank you so much, Darian. Carl Snowden, I know folks can reach you at the Caucus of African American Leaders. They can Google that. They can get to you. And I want to thank each of our guests that have been with us today. Dianne Wilkerson,
and
thank
Daryl.
you so much. Yes, Barbara.
And Daryl, tell people, come see us in Selma this Saturday. We'll be at the Willis Community College at 12. Come join our Gen Zs. Join us in Selma on Saturday. Go ahead, Daryl.
Thank you. Off the sidewalks, into the streets, everybody. Get to Michigan and vote if you're in Michigan. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
The preceding program was paid for by Barbara Arnwine.
I'm Shanola Hampton. Every day, millions of people face hunger. Today, I will share with you some of their experiences. I'm stuck between paying for medications or paying for food. John from Maine. After paying my bills, I can buy groceries. It's sad to say, food comes last. Alice from Oregon. I thought pantries were for less fortunate people, but anybody could be less fortunate in a day or even a second. Claire from Virginia. The Feeding America network of food banks helps provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. No one should have to worry where their next meal will come from. Together, we can end hunger. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
"2024 is here, and we are officially in primary season. Get registered in your state and help make a difference. Remember, you cannot vote unless you have registered. If you need to find more information about how, when, and where to vote, please visit onevote2024.com. Urban One wants to thank you for registering to vote and to remind you about your state primary in Maryland on May 14th. Urban One is committed to ensuring voters of the information they need to participate in every election. Log on to onevote2024.com.
WOL Washington, D.C. W240DJ Washington. 95.9 WMMJ HD3 Bethesda. WKYS HD3 Washington. WPRS HD3 Waldorf and worldwide at WOLDCnews.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Information is power, and now available on your smartphone and tablet.